welcome and thank you for being with me today, Hans van Baalen, President of the ALDE Party, and also a dear friend. Hans, the world is in a very strange situation. Politicians are reacting in different ways, but the majority with some concern. But we are also seeing some countries and some governments taking this crisis to reinforce some powers in a not very transparent way, and often against our liberal values and norms that we tend to protect. How do you see this ongoing situation, and how do you see the after coronavirus situation?
Well, Alexandre, dear friend as well, what you see, of course, is that we have to take emergency measures to fight corona and also to keep the economy going. But in democratic societies, Parliament still functions, like the European Parliament still functions. In illiberal societies, as self-proclaimed by Viktor Orban, the emergency is misused. It's misused to strengthen the government party, Fidesz, for instance, in Hungary. And these emergency measures are there to contain the free press, to contain free opinion, etc. So this is worrisome. In general, I say most societies are trying to cope. Most politicians are trying to do what they can in a democratic fashion. And there the liberal family has to play a role, and it does. So I'm not over negative. We will overcome the crisis, but let's think of the many people who have died and probably have to die. And there is no time to quarrel, not north-south, east-west. We're all in this together. Huh? Corona doesn't know borders. I mean, it doesn't stop at the Portuguese border or the Dutch border. We're all in this together. And I'm happy to see that at least the finance ministers brokered a deal. We can be critical about the deal, but there is a deal. Today, the issue is not that much about money. It's about doctors, medical devices. It's about nurses. It's about how to help people. And we should not be bookkeepers. We should say the assistance should be there, and where necessary, also the money should be there. And I think as a liberal family, we well understand this. Again, we are all in this together.
But we are also facing, well, already an existing, but virtually even bigger challenge in the medium and even long term, because we basically were hit by a huge tsunami. We are still trying to figure out where we stand, what were the consequences, or will be still the consequences of this first wave. There is a lot of the scientific community is fears that the second wave might be even more severe, like it was with the Spanish flu.
Yeah.
Of course, the Union has to address this also in the long term. We see the United States already discussing, they already approved two stimulus package around $4 trillion US dollars. Japan, 1 trillion yens. Shouldn't the Union also at the council level be more, let's say, try to work on a long-standing solution to help the 450 million European citizens to overcome this, and of course the economy, but never forgetting the social scope, and be more, you know, to aspire to achieve more, to be more efficient, to raise better solutions?
Well, I spoke in Deutsche Welle, and I said the Marshall Plan was not put together in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I mean, it took very many months, and the American Congress was very critical. So if you look now at the provisional measures, they're not the end. The provisional measures were taken in 2 weeks' time. So I'm not too negative on that, but we need to have many more measures. We have to learn of mistakes which we are making. So yes, you're right. We should do much more. We should look also at the global level. I mean, Europe can play a role over there, not only in Europe itself. We should include the Western Balkans, their family. They're not outside, they should not be outside. So yes, a lot has to be done. But what we should prevent in our own family, but also outside our own family, is big words. And I must refer to the Prime Minister of Portugal, Costa, who spoke very hard words. And I can understand from an emotional point of view, I fully understand. But we have to take steps in a positive way. That concerns Mark Rutte, that concerns Angela Merkel, Ursula von der Leyen, Dacian Ciolos, our leader in the European Parliament. We should look every day for solutions, and we will make mistakes as well. But if you see the green corridors, that you have transportation of agricultural goods and services, etc. This is typically where the European Union has made a difference. So Europe is there. And after the Corona crisis, we should learn what we should do more on the European level and where. So I'm positive, although I'm saddened by the loss of so many lives.
One of the things that is of concern to me is that if we can count on countries like Hungary or Poland or other countries that have been quite negative in terms of an approach of a global solution and a stronger solution to come out of this present crisis and ongoing crisis, if we will face permanent blockage in the Council. And this points us in a direction that I think is very interesting. Is we have this standing unanimity rule that many argue that democracies are built with compromises and majorities, not built upon unanimities. Do you fear that we might face these huge walls inside the Council and even some blackmailing from some member states to allow a global solution only for political reasons?
Oh, this can happen. But again, it happened also at the American Marshall Plan. Also there, some states in the United States said, oh no, we shouldn't help Europe because it will affect our own industry in Texas or in California. But it was the leadership of the American president to say, no, we go ahead. So we need leadership. And well, if I look what Charles Michel is doing, he provides leadership. Others do. So in the end, the best forces, the liberal forces, not the illiberal ones, will win. And we should make the life of the individual citizens better, because otherwise they will look at Russia, not the democracy,
Nope.
not even helping their own citizen, but are engaged in a propaganda war. Look at China. Look at the World Health Organization. You should look at the interview of the Director General of the World Health Organization with Xi Jinping, the leader of China. That says enough. He only says, "You're so good, Mr. Chairman." We should reform it in a positive way, not in a negative way like President Trump is doing by trying to move out the money. I mean, we have to reform the World Health Organization, but we should not cripple it today. So there is so much to do, and therefore I'm positive if I look to the discussions in the Renew Group, in the European Parliament, our group. I say, at least there is a real discussion, because we should not sideline democracy. Democracy will in the end prevail.
Yes, you spoke about Russia and China, and definitely China is playing again a prime role in all of this international crisis. And China, just 2 days ago, well, Hong Kong or China, for me, it's almost the same, politically speaking. They took, again, a very strong stance, and they arrested some key figures, pro-democracy figures in Hong Kong. To add to this, they continue to have military exercises, even as we speak, around Taiwan. They continue to use a lot of proxies to constrain Taiwan in the international scene. So Taiwan is a sovereign nation. Well, at least we recognize it as such. How far can China continue to go with their political agenda? Even here in Europe, we faced in the last days attempts of Chinese huge corporations to buy out some EU companies. And this is ongoing, and we continue to talk in the Union, but international investment scrutiny is still not really operating. We lost a lot of pivotal infrastructures to Chinese companies. How big is the Chinese problem for you?
It's very big. And if you look, you mentioned Taiwan. Eh? Taiwan learned from SARS. Taiwan has been able to contain Corona without setting aside democracy. So we can learn from this island, this democracy over there. And what is China doing? Outcasting Taiwan in the World Health Organization, not thinking about the well-being even of their own Chinese citizens. So the Chinese are thinking about Xi Jinping's position, the Communist Party position, maybe then the China position, but not humanity. So what we in Europe at least should do is to say they should not be allowed to buy our firms which are now in a bad position. We should, and Margrethe Vestager, as competition commissioner, has said that she will relax the rules because maybe states, European member states, can intervene in a positive way, preventing that vital industries are bought by China. They have now bought a Czech media company, which is bad. Again, we are not in war with the Chinese people, but we have a huge problem with the Chinese leadership, and we should acknowledge this. The same with Putin, Russia. We have problems with the United States, with President Trump. I would never have voted for him if I would be an American. And let's hope that democracy solves this problem. So I hope that Joe Biden will be the next president of the United States because it will be easier to deal with him. But if you look at the United States with all its flaws and all its problems, I would rather live there than in Putin, Russia, or Xi Jinping, China.
Definitely. We are near the end of our talk. I would like to ask you, the crisis also presented a huge challenge for our liberal family, our European liberal family, in terms of moving around to have our meetings, to have our council, to have our Congress. All of these are question marks. How does the president foresees that all the activities of ALDE Party until the end of the year? How constrained will we all be? How do you foresee the near future for our activities?
What I hope that there is an organized relaxation of the lockdown. And there also the European Union could play a very important role. But I hope that we will have our Congress as planned early December in Stockholm. Mm-hmm. That we have a council, we will have a email council early of May, but that we have a normal council, let me say, after summer. That we can see each other and then we can discuss. ALDE is now doing webinars, etc. So we are doing more or less fine. And what is the upside of this terrible crisis is that during all kinds of conferences, we are able to connect. So at the last meeting, I was able to connect directly also to President Macron, which normally you can't. So there is an upside to this. ALDE is well organized. it is there to help La République En Marche. It's to help EDP. We're a family. So I'm positive about this if we learn from mistakes made in this period and not blame each other. ALDE is here to stay, and it's a privilege to lead ALDE with so many friends, Alexandre, like you.
Thank you, President and Hans. Hans, just to finish, too many days at home. Of course, I hope that you had some time to read some books. Anything that you would like to advise us to read? Any books specifically?
I must be very honest. I don't read many books. My wife has a lung problem, which is not related to Corona. It's over there for 20 years. So I do the shopping. I do, together with my son Robert, his homework, etc. So I'm more a father and a husband than I was a few months ago. But you will recognize this.
I do.
We are privileged in our house in The Hague. But I must say that what I would advise people to do is to think a lot. To think, have we done the right thing? Maybe to watch a movie late at night, to read indeed a book. And then you should read Robert Penn Warren's All the President's Men. That's an old book. Nobody recalls it anymore, but it will be available on internet. It's about how power works, how people get corrupted, good people get corrupted. And we should fight that good people are corrupted. And it is a positive message. Let us be positive. Let us not be naive, and let's carry on. Thank you.
President Hans van Baalen, thank you for being with us today, and stay safe.
Be safe as well. Bye-bye.